You're listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast brought to you by Mindful Design Feng Shui School, episode 353, Feng Shui Chi Forecast, November 2025. Welcome to episode 353 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Laura Morris and Angie Cho are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School and authors of Mindful Living, a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui. We teach Feng Shui online at mindfuldesignschool.com. You can sign up for our mailing list for special free content, workshops, and events available only to our newsletter subscribers. So it's November, and that means that it's time to enroll in our New Year's Reset program. So if you've been following us for a while, you know that every year we have a special New Year's package to celebrate Lunar New Year. And we really focus on this time of year, the late fall through Lunar New Year. And we're saying goodbye to the snake and welcoming the fire horse in 2026. So we have this package that we put together so you could prepare your energy, your chi, your home to welcome in Lunar New Year. So it's really fun. And often we can't promise, but we will probably do another winter retreat like we did last year. And we got so much good feedback on that. People really enjoyed it. And it's just a little gift to our newsletter list. So be sure to sign up for our newsletter because all of that just goes into your inbox on the newsletter. So we do a winter retreat. We have the New Year's Reset package where we do a ritual together right around Lunar New Year to welcome in the new zodiac animal and to also let go of the chi, the energy of the year prior. And what we started doing this year is also create a list of all the auspicious dates for every zodiac animal and also the challenging dates for every zodiac animal as well. And if you listen to the Chi forecast, we share one of those dates. But if you join our New Year's Reset program, you'll receive a PDF with all of the animals, with all of the dates. So we hope you'll join us. It will probably be released in the middle of November for enrollment, and you'll get notified if you're on our mailing list. So just go to mindfuldesignschool.com/join and join our newsletter. You'll be notified to sign up and enroll for our New Year's Reset package. So November is here, and we have our monthly Chi forecast.
Yes, as we do every month, we will be reviewing the key dates. So these are the solar terms. We'll talk about the full moon. We'll talk about the energy of the month of November. And November overall, and we talked a little bit about it in October, how we move, from October 31st to November 1st as being that really interesting liminal time where Angie and I really go into depth. If you haven't listened to our Honoring Ancestors, I think we called it, or Remembering Ancestors podcast that was a couple ago, highly recommend that. We talk a lot about it because this time of year is when we're really shifting energy. It's really landing. The water energy is coming in. So winter is coming. Icy, wintry water chi in November. The days are becoming quieter, more restful, noticeably shorter, lots more darkness. The weather at this time when we're in November can really be a mix, and it really does depend on where you are living. It could be a lot more rain, cold rain, sleet. It could even be ice, maybe even some snow, depending on where you are. And energetically, it's a time when we're really preparing to protect ourselves and our home for this new weather. And many of our listeners will also be taking the end of this month to connect with the ideas of gratitude, right? So these key solar terms for November, the first of the solar terms in November is on November the 7th, and it is called the start of winter or winter begins. And it is exactly what it says. In the solar calendar, you'll notice that with each of the seasons, it tends to begin, air quotes, begin a lot earlier than what we would in the West consider to be winter, because this is when energy is shifting. So November the 7th in the Chinese solar calendar is what they recognize as this new energy or this winter season beginning. And as I mentioned, November becomes this month of preparing for this cold winter. To recognize the beginning helps you to measure, to diarize, to think about ways that you can start to reflect that in your own life, especially if you are working in agriculture, for example, where a lot of these key solar dates were really, really important and why it came about. So, for us, unless you're a farmer, you're going to start thinking about a little bit maybe more tangible things in your home, such as getting ready winter clothing wise. I think, you should really have that prepared so you can bundle up. Also, what you eat, you'll start to notice that shifts, eating more starchy, nourishing foods and preparing again for this long, cold winter. So, during this 2-week window, notice what's happening where you are. What are the signs of winter that you see? Definitely where I am, it's way more rain, and often the ice begins to form on ponds or on lakes, just thin little crispy little ice. There's just this desire to become a little slower, a little more restful, and as we move into energetically, we refer to as a water chi season, which is a more dormant time. And then on November the 22nd, the solar term is called minor snow or light snow. And this is where the temperature will drop significantly. And again, I'm talking about the northern hemisphere here. The temperature will drop significantly. Often light snow is possible or more than just light snow, again, depending on where you live. Sometimes where I am in Canada, this tends to be where you get often in the end of November, there's a really big snowfall and it may or may not last, the snow that hits. You're going to be getting your hats, your scarves ready. And again, that idea of really making that nourishing foods like soups to help nurture you during this winter chill as it settles in. And on November the 5th, the full moon for November is on November the 5th. And the historical name for the full moon in November is Beaver Moon, also Frost Moon. And both I think are really great, evocative for this month. Beaver Lodge being prepared again. They're just preparing for hibernation. They are sort of emblematic of being little hardworking preppers, storing things, getting ready. And the yin energy of the November moon asks us again to sort of slow down our pace. Moon energy is more yin anyway, so you've kind of got that double whammy. Maybe take inspiration from nature about this hibernation. What could you benefit from a restful pause or maybe a little bit more reflection? And just giving some thought around that during this time for the full moon.
So we also look at the Chinese zodiac for each month, and November is pig month. So a lot of people don't know that while there's an animal associated with every year, there's also an animal associated with each of the 12 months. And it goes even further. There's an animal for the day as well as an animal for the hour. Because it's a pig month, if you're born in the year of the tiger, the ram, or the rabbit, it's a harmonious, auspicious, lucky month for you. So those tigers, those rams, those rabbits, soak in the good energy around you in November. It's a challenging month energetically for those born in the year of the monkey and the year of the snake. For everyone, as part of our New Year's reset, we calculated all these dates. We calculated the PO dates, which are the be careful days for everyone. And so the PO day for November is November 8th. There's another day too, and that's on your list if you were in our New Year's reset for this year. And then also part of our New Year's reset package, we also include all the lucky days for every zodiac animal for every month. So we share just one for each month on our chi forecast. So for the month of November, the lucky day or an auspicious date for Year of the Rat is November 16th.
And the lucky day for ox is November 27th.
If you're born in the Year of the Tiger, it's November 14th.
For rabbits, it's November 25th.
Year of the Dragon is November 12th.
Snake is November 23rd.
Horse is November 22nd.
Ram is November the 21st.
If you're born in the Year of the Monkey, November 19th is a great day.
And if you are a rooster, it is also the 19th. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, many of the auspicious dates actually line up. I just pick one. I try to pick one that's not too early in the month so that if you listen to this Chi podcast late, that you have a chance to plan ahead for this.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah. Sorry, we're back. We're back to dog. Dog is the 18th.
Pig is the 17th.
Yes, but that's a great question question that people may ask. They overlap. We have like between 5 and 20 auspicious dates for each zodiac animal each month.
And when we do the package, there'll be the full list.
Right. You'll get the
if you
full
get the
list
package, yeah.
if you buy the New Year's Reset
Right.
package.
Okay.
So that's a really
Good
great
to know.
value. Mhm.
So back to the energy of November. The overall talking about it from a feng shui perspective, this time in November is an in-between shift. So you may remember fall, autumn is metal energy, metal chi, because again, each of the seasons is associated with a different one of the 5 elements. But these in-between times, so between a particular element, you'll have a shift. And that often connects with earth chi because earth is the boundary. We're shifting from metal into water season. And November is really this time where earth kind of inserts itself to make that shift, to settle everything before we go straight into that, more, in this case, very, very yin water chi. So, she'll notice just in what you experience in terms of the weather, the seasons, how you feel about it, that, you're going to be toward the end of the month, you're going to be feeling more and more of that water chi. And so there is going to be this desire as earth chi. What it does is really want you to make you feel nurtured and grounded and prepare for this. So moving from this contracting metal chi into a stilling water chi. And what we do every month as well in our chi forecasts is we also do a divination reading. This month, I will be doing a tarot card reading, and we always ask a question, a fairly broad question that speaks to all of our listeners, all of us listening. And this month I asked, how can we use the energy of November to transition into these colder, darker days? And how I pulled the cards this month is I generally do a 2-card pull. And I decided before I pulled the cards that the first card I pulled, the first card that I would lay down, is card number 1 would represent the situation, the status, sort of what's happening, the current situation. And then when I pulled card 2 really represents the nuance on top of that, where you can sort of say, however, or don't forget, or be aware of. So it gives a little more color and perspective to the first card. So the first card I pulled, card number 1 for the current situation, is the 7 of Pentacles. And the 7 of Pentacles, and I'm going to show the card for all of our, YouTube watchers that are out there. Here is the 7 of Pentacles, and I use the Waite Coleman Rider deck. For those of you that aren't seeing this, is a representation of a person, a figure, leaning on his or their farming implement, hoe or, thing to cultivate with. And there's two different plants growing there, and they have within them the pentacles. And these two different growths are, one is quite large and established, and the other at their feet, their wide open feet, is a small plant. And what this represents is, first of all, pentacles represent materials, goods, talents, energy. And the number 7 represents broadly forces of transition, internal focus, taking time to reflect on things. And this card represents, where do you want to put your energy? So the figure is looking down at a large plant that they have already established and is growing. And then at their feet, though, there is a smaller plant. So there's this decision that may need to be made of where to put your energy. Okay, there might be something that you want to focus on or shift your focus, or, maybe pivot. But there's something about you taking all of those materials and goods and talents and energy, whatever that pentacle represents for you, something a little bit more tangible and physical. And because again, pentacles are earth, they are very grounded. And where do you want to take those talents, energy, money? Because don't forget, money is energy, right? Where do you want to take that and put it into? Do you want to continue to focus on the whatever it is in your life that is established? Or do you want to maybe take a chance and focus on something different? And the idea is, you have a choice about manifesting and building something, bigger, tangible, to continue to grow something. But there's also a nuance there. Do you want to be conservative and stable and build on what you already have? Or do you want to maybe try to take a little risk and start to develop something new? And it's really also about taking the time to pause and to re-examine and decide whether or not you want to shift gears. And then the second card I pulled now, so we have that card, we know what the current situation is, and then I pulled the second card, which I had, is the 9 of Wands. And this 9 of Wands is going to say, okay, but don't forget and always remember that you need to think about, what lessons have you learned? So the 9 of Wands is, overall wands are creative force, values, actions. 9 is about the end of a cycle. And in this particular card, the figure is standing holding a wand, a staff, one of the 9, and behind them are the 8 remaining. And they're standing in front of a gap, right? That is where they've sort of taken that wand up. So there's an element of caution, of protection, but of being a little wary. They have a bandage on their head. They've kind of been through the wars, if you will. They've kind of gone through a process that they managed to get through, and they are, still here, still keeping and going on. So there is an element of, you have perhaps taken a lot to get to this point, or you've been through something, but you've learned lessons and you are better for it. So you can keep going. And because again, you've made it this far. So card 2, also there's an interesting element of when we bridge this imagery, these two cards together, both cards have their feet open. Both of them have their feet sort of toes out a little bit, which does mean they're open. They're open for new ideas. Though one has the staff, kind of both of them are leaning on these staffs, but very different purposes. And another important thing is to look at, for card number 9, if you have this card, you can see it. It's important to look at where the figure is looking. That is the figure that is being a little bit more cautious. And it's almost like they're looking to the other figure who is leaning over and examining their plants, and maybe focus on what is working, or just do not forget what happened in the past. So there's a little bit of a cautionary tale that is offered. So I would say the message from both of these cards would be, absolutely take the time to reflect on what you want to do next, regardless of, how that looks for you. You may have something that is established, that is going really well for you, and you might want to continue with that, or maybe you have an opportunity to grow something new. Both are options. There's no right or wrong in these cards. And then the other card, card number 2, that Wands card, the 9 of Wands card, is reflecting and giving you a little bit more insight and saying, in if and when you do this, just really think back practically on what worked and what didn't work. Right? It's about lessons learned. And don't make the same mistakes you did last time. We're trying to avoid them because you've kind of gone through quite a bit in your life at this point and you've learned a lot and you've made it this far. So, use that as an advantage, use that as a strength. So that's what I see these 2 cards telling you. They're both minor arcana cards. So they're really sort of almost, I don't want to say tactical, but they're very action oriented. They're very kind of here and now, what's happening right now, as opposed to giant thematic things. So you can think about really like it could be something really simple that you're working on or thinking about right now. So that is what I came out with, Angie.
This was great. Thank you for sharing that. Some of my thoughts as to how the listener community can apply this for the month of November. One thing that struck me was that imagery that you offered with the first card, the 7 of Pentacles. And it reminded me, just to remind everyone, there was the imagery of a large flourishing plant and then a small growing one, and Laura explained the comparison, or to notice that there could be something that's really something, a project or something in your life that's flourishing, and then one that's just growing, and one isn't better than the other, but there's an invitation to review that. And so how do we start to see that from a feng shui perspective? So I was just noticing, I've had a really busy, challenging year. It's always challenging. But in any case, I was taking a good look at some of my plants, and I realized also my plants reflect that too. So, there can be plants that are flourishing. Like, you can look literally at that same metaphor for which, plants are flourishing in your home. What area of the home is that in? Like, what room is it in? Whose room is it? If you've taken any of our courses or mini courses, or if you look in our mindful living book, you can look at the meanings of each room, or just, listen to, search our podcast archive. Like, for instance, if it's a bedroom, maybe there's parts of you that are flourishing. And also, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to bring in a new plant that's just growing, but maybe you have, or maybe someone's given you one, or maybe there's a little baby growing on your plant too. So you could see what's new. But also, to recognize, when I looked at some of the plants around my home, I'm like, wow, some of these, they're doing well now, but the leaves show that they've had a hard time this year. So the leaves have pock marks and stuff, but you know what? They're okay. They're strong. They're flourishing. They're not perfectly flawless, right? But they've shown oh, I think some of them had calcium deficiency. So if you have plants, you can take a look, take a good look at your plants and see oh, this one's doing well. This wasn't doing well. There's practical reasons. There's energetic reasons. There's feng shui reasons that you can start to review. And there's an invitation to contemplate that. See what's thriving, see what isn't doing well, see what area of the home that represents, whether that means what Bagua area is that in, or what does that room represent. And, you can definitely check out our podcast archive to look at all the possibilities for that. And if you don't have plants, you can also look at other things that are thriving in your home. What's a good example if people don't have plants?
The state of their closet.
But yeah, the state of the closet, if
Mhm.
you have a closet you've been neglecting, if something's accumulating a lot of dust, you can, maybe there's one shelf top or light fixture top that you've completely forgotten to dust in some time, or maybe there's an area of your home that's fallen into disrepair. So there's no judgments here, because we all are human, and there's lots of things to do in our lives, and these are just simply indications that we're alive and thriving, and how can we see the messages that are presented to us. And then Laura also, her reading also encourages us in this time this yin time in November to take the time to reflect. And that's what Laura said. I wrote down like what she said. That's a
Mhm.
quote unquote, Laura Morris. Take the time to reflect. And when you do that, you can also bring together this heaven and earth, the tangible and the intangible, the feng shui aspect of it by intentionally cleaning the mirrors in your home and the windows in your home. So the mirrors will give you the intentional nuance of being able to reflect a clear vision of yourself, not one that you're creating in your head, but what you can truly see. And take a good look at that in that mirror when you clean it. And then also clean the windows so you could see what's happening in the world with clarity as well. What is happening outside of your whole like ego view of yourself, like see what's happening outside. And if they're already clean, just clean them again. It's not, it's more like it's an ritual rather than, like a have to task.
Mhm.
And like Laura suggested, it's not like the most, uh, like you said, it's not major arcana. So it's not like a
Mhm.
big thing in your life.
Yep.
It can be a little thing, but that doesn't mean it can't be meaningful. But at the same time, it's not to be hurried or rushed, or it's like not like a checklist thing to do in 1 hour. It's like ponder this over the entire month. Be
Mhm.
curious, contemplate, and think about, do I want to celebrate large accomplishments? What's going right? Do I want to put my energy into something new and retire the other thing?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big, because sometimes people, when you say, "Oh, should I take a new path or start something new?" It doesn't have to be this giant life-changing decision. The idea of the number 9 in this card, as well as it's very auspicious in feng shui as well, is maybe take the, and it means a cycle completed in tarot, sort of the end and lessons learned. What are some of the lessons that you have learned? Because we are kind of rolling into the end of the year, right? And as you know from listening to us, the energy doesn't just turn on and off like a night, like a switch. We're going to start moving into more examination and self-examination and real quiet inner work in the winter months. So what are some of the things that, during this time that you have accomplished, like not accomplished, but what are some of the lessons you've learned? Like, and you could even come up with the number 9. Like, what are 9 simple things that over this past year that you've learned about yourself? Because again, number 7, the first card is 7, is about that inner reflection. So, that might be a nice exercise if you just want to take some time and again spend the month to reflect on that. You don't have to do anything big as well. You could just really do that more inner work as well.
So we hope that everyone has a wonderful November. We have some holidays here in North America and family time. So we hope all of you will enjoy it. And we have a lot of episodes coming up. This is our what do we call it? Like it's starting our Super Bowl time of the year is starting.
Right, yeah.
so
For the next couple
so
months, yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Holistic Spaces podcast. You can tune in every Monday for a new episode. If you like our podcast, please share it, subscribe, leave a review. You can check out our certification that's open for enrollment now. It starts in February 2026. And we have a mini course that will soon be available on our website as well. So that's a New Year's reset package to welcome the year of the horse in 2026. And we also will have a special offering for our newsletter subscribers. So sign up for our newsletter. Go to mindfuldesignschool.com/join. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.